Welcome everyone to this episode number 6 of the Tools to Awakening podcast, part of the Awareness podcasts. And I am Cyndi, and I am here with my beloved friend, Rona. Hi, Rona.
Hello, Cyndi. Hello, everybody. Grateful to be here for another episode.
Oh man, and the energy is just kind of filling the space, and I am inspired to begin by slowing us all down. Is that okay, Rona?
That sounds great.
And so the invitation, I don't know where you are right now. You've got the sound of my voice connecting you and me. I don't know if you're watching a video and you're seeing us, or if you're sitting and being still with these teachings, or if you're walking or driving or cleaning or cooking. It doesn't matter. I do invite you, though, to be here now. More and more, I am noticing that there are often multiple things going on in the sense of a me, different storylines in the head that seem to be pulling one's attention about what one has to do next, or, what my friend said, or should I, or could I, or wouldn't life be better ifs kind of chatter in the mind. And even if you sort of feel you're present with what you're doing, if that chatter is taking your attention, I invite you to see what happens if you pretty much just pull away from that, pull away from all of that, and come hang out with Ron and I for about the next 30 minutes. I think that's all it's all these podcasts have been so far, about 30 minutes. And that's very deliberate. We really just want to give you an opportunity to be in the present moment, to allow some different ways of looking at the world to fill you, and to provide you with potential exercises that you could use to just raise your consciousness and have a different experience in this moment. So come and hang out with us, yeah? Are
Please
you here,
do.
Rona?
I'm here now. I'm right here right now.
So we are on episode 6, and the thing is, not one of these episodes, not one of these tools are any more important than the other. Ultimately, you get to the point where you almost realize that they're all the same. We're just sort of using different places to pull us into this space of being fully present here and now. And in episode 1, and the invitation, by the way, is to go back and listen to all the episodes if you haven't, and to listen to all the other awareness podcasts too, as you're inspired. They're all phenomenal, and they all have an opportunity to really bring new awareness, new opportunities, a new experience of yourself. And so, yeah, all recommended. So episode number 1, we talked about honesty. We did, right, Rona? I remember
Yes,
that properly.
Yeah. Total alignment.
Yeah. Letting your insides and your outsides be fully focused in the same place, right? So it's really less about you speaking your truth to others in the world, because ultimately we get to the place where we understand that the world is simply a reflection of the insides. It's really more about being honest with ourselves, setting the intention to have everything, our actions, be in alignment with our intentions, with our words, with our thoughts. Yeah.
Yes, there's that first bit of noticing there for me. You know, I'm out of alignment. Is this what I want?
And from there, we moved into the pause. And honestly, and if you're listening, I quote you a lot, but it's our friend Wynn who said this is perhaps the most powerful, but also the most difficult of all of our spiritual tools, really, is to pause and notice and simply be with what is. It gives us a chance to slow down and really see what's happening.
Yes, this has got to be one of my favorite practices when I remember to do it. You know, it's stop whatever action is going on activity wise. I like to place my hand on my heart, and you can do this anywhere with anybody. And I just listen to that mind chatter for a second and don't touch it and just let it calm down. And I didn't know it could be that simple, but there's that willingness, right, to stick with it. And it's just such a beautiful space. You know, everything just goes.
And what I've been noticing in the pause is how often the thoughts that are showing up in the mind, which then create the experience, whether it's an emotional or physical or whatever, how often those thoughts have nothing to do with the current moment experience, and how often they're actually out and out lies. I caught a thought a couple of weeks ago that literally said, "I am sad." I saw it, and I'm watching it in the pause, and I was outside walking the dog, having a great time, playing in the snow, watching him, chew on his leash, and I'm looking at this thought, and I could feel how it was starting to shift, even like the chemicals in the body, right? It was about to activate. And I asked it, is this even true? And I realized that in the moment that thought came up, it had no bearing on reality. It was insane. And it's the magic of the pause.
It's great. It's great. I can just let these things pass by too. I mean, you said it, that wonderful sentence, is this true? Or am I crafting a story to milk something out for my selfish self?
Well, ultimately, our experience is dependent on where believing attention is placed. Mm-hmm. And unconsciously believing a thought like "I am sad," like whether we're placing attention consciously or unconsciously, all these tools actually help bring what was unconscious to the consciousness. And at that point, we could literally choose whether or not we're going to withdraw our believing attention from it, or we're going to feed it. Yeah.
Isn't it amazing that we have the ability to do that?
Choice. Which leads us to episode number 4. The next episode was trust, right? That's
right.
That's episode number 3. And here's the thing, we're always trusting something. So if we consciously bring our attention back to trusting the truth teachings, trusting this space, trusting that all is well, trusting the Tao, whatever words you want to put it, but essentially if we continually choose, no matter what's going on in the world, to trust the teachings of the Tao, trust the teachings of A Course in Miracles, the non-dual teachings. There's so many different pointers to the truth. If we insist and place our trust on those, then everything else just begins to take care of itself, doesn't it?
Yes, my trust today is really anchored on the idea to accept what is. Very much anchored there. And then remember the truth. This is a story. You know, there's a you and a me and a car or a train or a bus. And if I continue creating that, it will cause suffering. But if I accept what is as exactly the way it's supposed to be, perfect for whatever healing or anything that needs to be done or inquired about, I just trust implicitly now that all is well. It's quite the different feeling than how I used to live.
I believe episode number 4, we touched on gentleness.
We sure did.
And just in a nutshell, the invitation is to be gentle with yourself, to allow yourself to be exactly where you are, to practice holding yourself with gentleness, trusting that self-judgment self-judgment is not helpful. And we'll talk more about that today. But just that word gentleness, it's like wearing softest blanket. And just be kind with yourself.
I think that's pretty much where this power of love comes in. You know, I love your blanket idea. You know, we're just wrapped. And I have to have the willingness, however, to be gentle, you know, on myself and whatever I perceive is happening around me.
We move then. Our last episode, episode number 5, we used the word tolerance because that, according to A Course in Miracles, is one of the characteristics of a teacher of God. But we didn't spend much time talking about that word tolerant. Instead, we talked about the power of dropping judgment.
Yes.
And everything changes when that happens.
I think that we challenged our listeners and our viewers to try this practice. And what really struck me is you said, do nothing to make yourself feel better in that moment.
All judgment one way or another. It's so interesting. If you notice, and I did actually do this exercise last week, I think, and so I'll just put it out here because it's a lot of fun. I took some time every hour. I actually had an alarm, and once an hour I stopped and wrote down the thought that was arising, that was creating a sense of a me, and every one of those thoughts had a sense that what I am was something other than what I saw, that there was a me and a world out there, and that inherent in that thought, there was judgment, comparison, some subtle, at least, sense of attack and a defense. And if only life would shift in this place, then I could be awakened, you know, subtle at this point, sometimes more intense, but it's an amazing exercise. Like, it's a crazy, amazing exercise because it enables you to catch thoughts that may have otherwise just continue to run without you even noticing. A lot of these thoughts that create our sense of self, they're so familiar that we don't even notice that they're there.
Right.
And really just being aware of them and consciously choosing, no, not that. I'm going to place my attention elsewhere. You begin to withdraw all the out of them, and your separated sense of self just begins to weaken.
The idea that I can place my attention elsewhere is such a game changer. You know, I am not ruled by what's going on between these two ears, but I can be. Like you said, it's very quiet and subtle and it's familiar. And so there are a lot of things that I didn't hear for a long time, but now that I'm pausing, it's almost like a band, you know. As soon as I pause, it's like you hear them ping, 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 you know, trying to get me to fix something or do something or doubt something or worry something about something.
Anything.
Anything than being here now.
Which leads us to the title of episode number 6, which is joy. Isn't that a pretty word?
Joy, joy, joy. I just thought I'd sing. You know.
Thank you. So here's what's fun is that I did, one of the things I learned how to do in learning how to contemplate was occasionally you look up words in the dictionary, and none of my Google searches left me feeling really good relative to a workable definition of joy based on the pointings, based on what is wanting to be spoken today. With that said, and tell me how this lands, Rona. I'd like to define joy is that which occurs when the mind is quiet, when one is simply in the flow, fully engaged in the current moment experience.
I like that. It's not a result of an event or a circumstance.
It is actually one of the definitions of who we are. In truth, it is what's coming to me now. Michael Singer was using the word happiness, but the teaching that is aligned is happiness is a quiet mind. He says, we think we're going to be happy when we get the relationship or the car or any of those things. And when we get the relationship or we buy the house or we get the new job, we feel happy for a time.
Mm-hmm.
But that happiness isn't the result of the car or the relationship of the house. It is actually the relation, it is the result of the mind being quiet, of no looking in the world for something. So it's not the thing, it's the emptiness and the quiet. And that's the definition that I'd like to give all of us here. In the absence of the thinking mind, joy simply is. And the invitation is just to sink into that for just a moment. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't have words for a second because, in my search for truth over the last couple of years that I've been, coming around teachers of God and these awareness podcasts, that's what I wanted. I reached out to our creator a couple of years ago and in anger, I said, I just want to feel some joy. And I don't know, as a result, all of you came to me and the truth was laid before. And with these practices, I can see that these disturbing thoughts don't come from God. It's the ego that wants to fix something. And I love what you said about the joy comes in the emptiness. And I can see that from that ego perspective. It's like there's that moment where something I feel I've accomplished. And it's like, but it's so fleeting because the thoughts always jump to what's next. So today, what I'm trying to do is recognize those thoughts and align with the truth. Realize there's nothing to do or fix, that it's all being taken care of. And I have this experience of this. It's empty, but it's full, Cyndi. That's the way I need to explain my experience. It's totally empty, but it's totally full. And I look forward to the experience of whatever happens now.
How wonderful.
So different.
And I want to just point that out too, because you said initially your prayer was, I just want to feel some joy. Okay. That statement in that space where you were indicates that who you are is someone with an outer desire.
Absolutely.
So I clearly just want to state that joy is what we are.
Yes.
And
yes.
The mind chatter or the sense of an individual separate self can cover that the way clouds cover the sun, but just like the clouds covering the sun do not change the sun, our thinking mind may cover and dilute or distort our sense of self, but can never change what we are.
Thank you. That was a challenge when I first started coming around, the idea that I am joy. I am peace. I am love. That was a challenge because the body mind thought that was reserved for something big out there.
So I have A Course in Miracles open next to me to workbook lesson 93. The title of that lesson is Light and Joy and Peace Abide in Me. And I'm not going to read the lesson, but if you're listening and you'd like to go and refer to it later, it's a good thing. What I'd like to point out to you is that this lesson in general is speaking to the same thing that we are speaking to, right? That there is essentially the truth, and the truth is joy. The truth is bliss, stillness, peace. And over that, there are beliefs. There are thoughts that have been given attention that has created an illusory sense of not that. And in this lesson, there's a state that they're firmly fixed by lots of attention being given to them. And I can also state over and over and over again in my own experience and in the experience of friends and people I work with, it's the same thing. Believing attention has been placed on an experience of something other than that, so much so that there is this general belief that that's true. And it's not. It's not. And here's where things get a little, well, here's where trust and faith and the pause and being gentle with ourselves is so important. Work is to pull our believing attention away from, and that's literally just withdrawing. It's like almost like just turning the television set off, right? Let's stop watching this show.
Right.
We pull the attention away from the Cyndi story, the Rona story, the life sucks story, and life is not great story, whatever it is, and we rest in the truth. Yeah.
Change the channel.
Go change
the channel.
In workbook lesson 93, the invitation is to take 5 minutes every hour and just remind ourselves, that we're not the story. And it's a great pointing. It's everything that we've spoken about and are pointing to. Awareness alone is a curative, and the more we withdraw from focusing on our problems and we rest as the truth of who we are, the more the truth of who we are breaks through and colors our experience.
Yes. I'm very much aware now when I get hooked in again to the belief that I am separate. There's a you and a me and a story. And it's causing me discomfort.
Well, there is discomfort that is occasionally arising. And this sense of a separate self, just like this lesson points to, and past teachings have pointed to, it's been given a lot of attention. Not just by you and I or the people, but the whole kind of sense of this entire world. The world that I see is outside of me. There's a tremendous amount of attention placed on something other than resting as awareness, and it is a habit to believe it. It's an addiction potentially for many to believe it. And this very gentle, quiet, resting in the pause, stepping away, pulling our attention away from that as much as we can is the correction.
Yes.
It's really not any more difficult than that.
No. Joy is revealed.
And Rona, I'm inspired to ask if there's more you want to share. From my standpoint, I feel really complete. Because why place more words on it? The pointing is simply when we stop thinking and we simply are, that's the working definition of joy. We've been thinking into a space of separation for as long as we've appeared to exist as a separate self. And so there is a habit there. The invitation is to practice as often as you remember, perhaps even once an hour, resting, reminding ourselves that as we let go of thinking, joy will break through and become our direct experience. And what's better than that?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing is better than that.
Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I just want to thank you for helping me remember.
Very good. Well, thank you, everyone who has spent these 30 minutes with us. Man, do I love us all so much. Please share this podcast with your friends. Come back and listen. Let us know how it's working within you. If there are questions you want to have answered, you could let us know that too. We're here and just so very blessed to be able to be doing this with you.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Till next time.